Have you ever wondered what truly disarms those who tried to break you? It's not revenge. It's not screaming. It's not proving them wrong with words. It's when you simply vanish, calm, unbothered, and untouchable. There is nothing more unsettling than silence where chaos was expected. Your absence speaks in a language that their ego can't decode. No explanation, no closure, just a clean break that leaves them alone with their illusion of power. And that silence, it begins to echo. The one who hurt you doesn't want peace. They want to own your reaction. They feed on your collapse, your emotional outbursts, your need for answers. But when you don't give them that, when you disappear without a single ripple, you take the last piece of control they thought they had. This isn't about running away. This is about ascending above the noise. It's the choice to protect your energy, to rise in silence while they sink in their own noise. Power, when quiet, is absolute. Every scream you don't release becomes a reminder. You were never a puppet in their game. You were the one watching from above, choosing not to engage in a war beneath you. And that choice leaves scars far deeper than confrontation. The Stoics taught this centuries ago, not as weakness, but as the highest form of dominance. You master the self. You master the battlefield. You don't retaliate, you retreat with grace. And you let time, guilt, and your absence finish the work. In this video, I'll show you how to become unreachable, not through vengeance, but through strategy, not through violence, but through presence. You'll learn the psychological weapons that Machiavelli would admire to win without ever lifting a sword. So if you're ready to stop giving energy to those who don't deserve it, if you're ready to walk away in a way they'll never forget, this video was made for you. Let's begin and never look back.
Indifference is not weakness. It's a calculated weapon sharpened by silence. When someone attacks you and you don't even flinch, you're not ignoring them. You're erasing their significance. You become the mirror that reflects their irrelevance. The ego craves attention, even negative attention. It wants to be acknowledged even as a villain. But when you show no sign of damage, when you continue your life without pause, you send a brutal message. You never mattered. Indifference is not about pretending. It's about mastering your internal response to the point where you truly feel nothing. No grudge, no fury, no bitterness, only clarity and detachment. People are conditioned to expect retaliation. They anticipate drama, arguments, emotional fallout. And when you give them none of that, when your silence becomes your response, you shatter their script and they fall apart. They want the satisfaction of knowing they got to you, but what they receive is a haunting void. No texts, no explanation, no second chance. They become invisible in your world, and that invisibility is unbearable. The game changes when your peace cannot be disturbed. Your calm becomes a fortress they can't penetrate. It's not a performance, it's real power. Power that doesn't chase, doesn't explain, doesn't stoop. Power that watches from above and walks away. Machiavelli would tell you, control perception. When they can't read you, they fear you. And when they fear you, they lose control. Indifference forces them to question their value. It breaks them more efficiently than vengeance ever could. You don't need to scream to be loud. You don't need to react to make impact. The most painful lesson someone can receive is realizing they weren't important enough to provoke a response. And that, my friend, is psychological dominance.
People who hurt you aren't always trying to destroy you. Sometimes they just want to matter. They want to be the villain in your story, because even that gives them a role. But what breaks them is giving them nothing. They crave being the reason you cry, scream, or lose control. Pain is their proof of relevance. They want to leave a mark, even if it's a scar. But when you move on quietly, without a reaction, you strip them of their imagined importance. When someone believes they triggered a storm inside you, they feel powerful, even if you're wounded. But if you keep walking, head high, soul untouched, you deny them the privilege of significance. They become a failed attempt at relevance. You don't owe anyone closure. You don't owe them your sadness. Their need to be acknowledged is not your responsibility. And the refusal to validate them is a punishment their ego can't comprehend. Your silence is louder than revenge. It whispers, "You were never the center of my world." It echoes, "Your power existed only in your mind." This isn't cruelty, it's liberation. You release yourself while they remain shackled to expectation. In a world obsessed with validation, denying someone attention is the ultimate reversal. You make them invisible, not through hatred, but through irrelevance. And that, to them, is unforgivable. Machiavelli taught that the illusion of power is often more valuable than power itself. So when you dismantle that illusion with calm detachment, you dismantle their self-worth, and they're left battling a ghost that no longer sees them. Let them talk, let them guess, let them spin stories, but give them no answer. Your peace is not up for auction, and the absence of your attention will echo louder than any word you could ever say.
There is no louder scream than your absence. When you vanish without warning, without a goodbye or a single word, you steal the last breath from their drama. You leave them arguing with silence. Those who hurt you expect retaliation. They want chaos, confrontation, tears. But when you give them nothing, not even a final word, you dismantle their illusion of control. You don't run, you don't hide. You simply leave the stage without applause. No explanations, no closure. Just stillness that becomes thunder in the minds of those who wronged you. Your departure becomes a mystery they can't solve, a wound that won't close. They replay the story in their minds, trying to find meaning, trying to justify why you no longer look back. Marco Aurelius said, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." So while they expect you to scream, you do the opposite. You evolve, and in your revolution, they dissolve. They start imagining things you never said. They create conflicts you never confirmed. Because silence is fertile ground for madness. You hold the power simply by not answering. They suffer trying to decode a language you stopped speaking. This isn't ghosting. It's reclaiming your peace without giving them ammunition. You are not punishing them. You are preserving yourself. And that preservation is the ultimate power move. They wanted to leave you broken, but now they are the ones haunted, not by your words, but by your disappearance. And the echo of your silence is louder than any scream.
Nothing inflicts more pain on your enemy than watching you rise with grace. They expected your collapse, your desperation, your endless spiral into bitterness, but instead you shine, and it's unbearable to them. They attacked, thinking they'd broken you, but when you rebuild, stronger and calmer, you rewrite the story they tried to author. Your growth becomes the chapter they never wanted to read. Success without confrontation is unsettling. It leaves no room for blame, no place for victimhood. They can't say you were obsessed with revenge because you were too busy improving. And that improvement is the slap they can't return. When your joy becomes louder than your pain, you humiliate them without a word. They hoped to haunt your mind, but you built something new in its place. You've become proof that they failed. True power is silent progress. You don't announce your wins. You simply move forward, leaving them in the shadows of the life they tried to ruin. Machiavelli taught that success is the only justification power needs. And you, by refusing to fall, become untouchable, not by might, but by transformation. They wanted you to beg. Instead, they watch you thrive. And every smile you wear is a reminder that their plan crumbled, not by resistance, but by irrelevance. You win not by shouting, but by living better than ever. And as they sit with their unspoken defeat, you walk away untouched, leaving behind only silence and dust.
Contempt is not rage. It is colder, cleaner, a dismissal so complete it erases the offender from the map of your mind. Anger still implies connection. Hatred keeps them relevant. But contempt, that's when they become no one, nothing, not even worth your disdain. The manipulator doesn't fear hate. They fear being forgotten, because to them, being hated still proves they had impact, but silence says they never mattered. You don't scream, you don't curse, you simply detach with dignity, as if they never existed, and in that quiet removal, you steal their last illusion of power. Machiavelli understood the art of vanishing respect. He knew true control lies not in punishment, but in denying recognition. Your contempt is not noise. It's a void they cannot escape. You don't need revenge. You need nothing. And needing nothing is what makes them spiral, because they crave importance, and you refuse it. They may provoke, they may bait you into reaction, but you give them absence, not to hurt them, but to elevate yourself. The most lethal strike is not to destroy your enemy, but to treat them as if they were never worthy of battle. That's the power of true contempt. They expect you to lose it, to shout, cry, beg, collapse. But when you respond with poise, with an emotionless stare, you steal their victory before it begins. Control over yourself is the highest seat of power. You don't need to dominate others, just master your inner storm. That mastery terrifies those who live in chaos. The manipulator thrives on your reaction. They feed off your confusion and emotion. But when you go still, when your mind remains untouched, they see their tricks crumble in real time. Marcus Aurelius taught that we are not disturbed by events, but by our judgment of them. So when you stop judging, stop reacting, you remove every hook they cast. Calm is not weakness, it's strategy, discipline, design. When you speak softly while they scream, you flip the entire dynamic. You become the one in charge. Self-control is not suppression, it is redirection. It's choosing when, how, and if you respond, without letting emotion leak your power. They want a scene. You give them silence. They want drama. You give them indifference. And in that refusal, they lose their grip. Power isn't volume, it's presence. And when you stay composed, when your peace becomes unshakable, you rise above their reach entirely.
You don't announce your departure. You don't explain or justify. You simply vanish, quiet, deliberate, untouchable. And that's where their torment begins. They expected closure. They prepared for a fight, but all they got was your complete absence, a void that speaks louder than words. When you leave without warning, you leave them powerless. They can't twist your words, they can't defend their actions, because there's nothing to grasp. A loud exit gives them fuel. A quiet one gives them questions, and questions without answers are the seeds of madness for those who seek control. Seneca warned, "Never wrestle with fools." You degrade your dignity by arguing with those who thrive on chaos. Walking away is not surrender. It is elevation. It is the art of refusing to be trapped in their emotional battlefield. The one who disappears without bitterness or revenge leaves behind the deepest wound, not pain, but uncertainty. You exit, and they are left to wrestle with their own guilt, their own echoes, their own failures. And that silence becomes their prison.
Time never hurries, but it always delivers justice. You don't need to force karma. You just need patience, and your enemy will collapse under its weight. In the beginning, they smirk. They mistake your silence for weakness. But the days pass, then weeks, and your stillness becomes unbearable. They expected drama. They rehearsed their comebacks. But you gave them nothing. No closure, no stage, just the echo of their own emptiness. Time sharpens guilt like a blade. At first they deny it, then they wonder. Then regret arrives, wrapped in loneliness and doubt. You didn't raise your voice, you didn't expose them. You simply withdrew and allowed the consequences to bloom naturally. The most vicious punishment is one they inflict on themselves, imagining your peace, your silence, your indifference. Marcus Aurelius said, "If you wait by the river long enough, the bodies of your enemies will float by." And he was right. Let them rot in their imagination, haunted by your absence, tormented by your evolution, because you moved on, and they are stuck reliving what they lost.
They didn't think you'd stay silent. They were sure you'd chase, plead, react. But you gave them something else: your absence, your peace, your complete emotional detachment. At first, they laughed. Later, they watched. Now, they wonder, because the silence that once seemed weak has become an unbearable mirror. They start imagining what you're doing, who you're becoming, how you look so composed without them even in the frame. And that unknown becomes their punishment. Every time they check your life and see no signs of collapse, they feel smaller, because you didn't just survive, you flourished without ever looking back. Their regret won't scream, it will whisper constantly, in night, in silence, in the spaces they thought they would always occupy. You didn't have to humiliate them. They did that to themselves by realizing they lost someone who never needed to lose control to win the war. True revenge doesn't come with noise. It arrives wearing elegance. You didn't break them. You let them break themselves by proving you never needed their validation. Let them drown in the irony. They tried to destroy your mind, but now they are the ones haunted by the peace they never learned to possess. The most lethal move you can make is to disappear without hesitation. No drama, no farewell, just the quiet certainty that you are done for good. Weak minds beg to be seen. Strong minds vanish, and in that vanishing, you reclaim your power and leave behind only silence. They expected aftermath. You gave them nothing. No tantrum, no closure, just the devastating truth. They are no longer relevant. When you never look back, you close the door completely. No cracks left open, no emotional loose ends, only the sound of peace behind you. Let them wonder, let them rot in their questions. The more you grow in silence, the more they shrink in doubt. That is dominance without effort. You don't prove yourself to people who tried to break you. You become the kind of person they no longer have the privilege to be near or even understand. Your silence is not weakness, it's strategy. It's the mark of someone who chooses peace over drama and evolution over revenge. So leave, without noise, without bitterness, because when they realize you're never coming back, you've already won. You don't need to fight. You don't need to scream. You don't even need to explain. Your silence is the sentence, and time is the executioner. They wanted to see you shattered, begging, reacting, crawling back. But instead, you rise in silence, untouched, unbothered, unbreakable. This is the moment they realize they never had power, only illusions.
and your stillness shatters them more than any retaliation. The strong do not retaliate, they recalibrate. They don't waste energy proving a point, they become the point by living well, in full control. Every step forward you take, without mentioning their name, without dragging their shadow, sends a clear message. You never mattered enough to stop me. Machiavelli would call this a masterstroke of emotional warfare, because the game they wanted to play was never played, and they lost without a single move from you. So, don't chase closure. Don't fall into drama. Don't respond to chaos. Become the embodiment of stillness and let time crush what ego built. Let them drown in the silence they hope to fill with your pain. You chose peace, and in doing so, you chose ultimate victory.